Hey, Sun Devil fans, I'm Ina Lazarev along with Devil's Digest publisher Hode Rubino. Hode, signing day 2015 has come to an end. The letters of intent are officially in. What do you think about when you think of this group that ASU has brought in?
Well, I think they did a really good job in the trenches, both offensive line and defensive line, and I think those are two areas that they probably wanted to do better in years past. And I think the fact they were able to sign 5 offensive linemen, some of them can maybe even figure in the 2 deep this year, defensive linemen and even linebackers for that matter in the front 7 that can really make an impact in 2015. I mean, those are some of the things that really jump at you. I would also say at the quarterback group, they have right now the best group of quarterbacks I can ever remember in the last 20 or so years. Obviously, not all of them are going to play because of the position itself, but it's definitely not going to be really choosing the least of the worst or something like that. You would actually go ahead and really have a quality group to choose from, and really, if you can go ahead and have a good quarterback, that's more than half the battle to have any team success, no matter how good or bad your defense is.
Who are some of the players on each side of the ball that you believe can come in and make an immediate impact?
Well, again, you just go ahead and talk about the trenches and talk about an offensive line. And even though it's rare for a true freshman offensive line to go ahead and figure in the 2 deep, I think players like Zach Robertson, like Steve Miller, who's a mid-year enrollee already here on campus, those are 2 guys that figure to have a chance to go ahead and play right away. And I think also tight end, maybe a position that usually gets overlooked a lot, but guys like J.J. Wilson and Tommy Hudson, and also Raymond Epps, JC transfers also here already on campus. Those are guys that I think are going to play a lot. Arizona State really likes to employ that two tight end scheme more often than not, and this year they truly have the depth of looking at also diverse skill between all the tight ends that they have right now in this newcomer group. On defense, the player that one of the last ones to go ahead and send in the letter, JoJo Wicker from Long Beach Poly, and anybody that even casually covers recruiting in this region knows that Long Beach Poly is a pipeline you want to go ahead and establish. Arizona State has done very well with a linebacker like Salam Ofisa, one of the best players on defense, and now to get a guy like JoJo Wicker who could go ahead and play that 3 technique that Will Sutton played, but he's actually a bigger and stronger player in that sense. That was a huge get for Arizona State. And there's only 1 5-star in this class, and it's actually a junior college 5-star, Devon Durant, that can go ahead and play the devil backer. We talked so much about how much the devil backer was an issue last year, and even though Arizona State was able to go ahead and get around it after 4 games and just go with a heavier front, there's no doubt in my mind that this defensive coaching staff wants to have an established devil backer, and when you have someone like Devon Durant in that role, that can really help a lot. So those are some of the players that really stand out to me on both sides of the ball, and players that I wouldn't be surprised at all that would not redshirt in 2015.
There are 6 mid-year signees who are already on campus and will be a part of spring practice. Would you say that is an unusual number?
Yeah, I would say the definitely unusual number. I can't remember Arizona State having so many mid-year transfers, period, and alone 4 of those mid-year transfers are actually December graduates in high school. And I think that's one trend we're definitely seeing in recruiting that even compared to 5 years ago is totally different. We're seeing more and more high school players graduating in December because they realize that to go ahead and come here in January, to be in the strength and conditioning program 5 extra months, to go ahead and be in spring practice, to go ahead and get acclimated on the field, off the field, in the classroom before the season actually starts, or before full camp starts, I should say, in August. That is worth its weight in gold, and I think that those mid-year transfers really realize the value to go ahead and do that. So I think it's great that Arizona State has 6 such players, and really, if you're a true freshman that is even going to have a chance to play, your chances of playing as a true freshman are so much greater if you come in as a mid-year transfer. We saw that last year with linebacker DJ Calhoun, who was a mid-year transfer. So I think that's an unusual number, but unusual in a very, very good way, and I think that's a trend you're going to see not only with Arizona State, but really I think all across the Power 5 conferences. Again, high school players realizing that if there's any way they can go ahead and get here in January rather than May or in the summer, that really enhances their chances of playing right away that much better, and really also helping them get a degree, in probably 4 years, sometimes even 3.5 years.
Were there any good or bad surprises for the Sun Devils today?
Well, I think the bad surprise is the first thing you have to look at is Paul Lucas, and I guess what's really frustrating over here is not only have a local player that really gave Arizona State the impression up until last night that he is coming to Arizona State. Arizona State went ahead and sent them a letter of intent, and he decided to go ahead and sign with Oregon State. Now, granted, this is a program that has been recruiting him for a long time, But if you want to be fair about it, he never communicated to Arizona State he was having those second thoughts. And if he had communicated that, Arizona State would cut their ties at some point probably and not send a letter of intent to him that's not coming back signed, which means that they can only have that letter of intent sent to a different prospect only starting tomorrow. So that really puts you in a bind, because now you don't know if that recruit you're trying to recruit tomorrow, let's say, is still going to be on the board, because he's obviously open to be recruited by anybody else. So that was a bad surprise. I think wide receiver Cordell Brodus, he definitely gave an impression to Arizona State that he wanted to be here. And we know about the TV show with his father, Snoop Dogg, and you can talk about that maybe kind of leading towards his decision today to go to UCLA, but I really don't think that was the case. I really think he was generally had Arizona State leading. He visited here officially. That was the only school he visited officially. He was here for Super Bowl weekend on an unofficial visit. Granted, his dad was here performing and whatnot, but yeah, that's one player I think Arizona State really thought that they had, and so those are some of the bad surprises that happened. But a good surprise, I think, is JoJo Wicker, we mentioned before, and you really can't say really can't say enough, I should say, about this player. I mean, this is a true freshman that can really go ahead and hit the ground running, even though he's only coming here in the summer. And he's somebody that Arizona State battled hard with UCLA. He actually visited UCLA the last weekend before signing day, and that's usually the seal the deal visit. But the fact that he didn't commit to UCLA right away, the fact that he didn't even give any indications that he's going to commit because of that visit, really put Arizona State in the conversation the whole time, and Arizona State was able to nab him. So I'm not going to say a huge surprise, but definitely an impact signing, one of the last players to go ahead and send in his letter to make the announcement on ESPNU. I mean, that is something that is just so invaluable when you look at the recruiting landscape.
Arizona State is coming off of its second consecutive 10-win season. Do you think that this 2015 class is a reflection of that success?
To some extent, yes. The fact that Arizona State finished 12th in the country and right now, as we speak, has the number 19th recruiting class in the nation by Scout.com is definitely not a horrible mark. I mean, there's a lot of teams that would trade places with you in a heartbeat. But you think that if you finish in the top 15 in the country and you have, like you said, back-to-back 10-win seasons, something that only 12 Power 5 conference teams have accomplished in the last two seasons, you'd think that maybe your recruiting ranking would be a little closer to number 15. Obviously, one thing that people have to keep in mind, it's always a function of the teams that are ranked above you and how their recruits, how their signees, I should say, are viewed by Scout.com or by other recruiting services out there. So that's something that always plays a factor in that. So, I mean, I know folks can look at this recruiting class as being somewhat disappointing because of the stature of it. Last year was number 17, this year's number 19. But sometimes you really have to look at the history of this program and really realize that ASU is a team that really needs to go ahead and crawl before it can walk. And I think that you're seeing a lot of positive signs. And one more positive sign, and maybe folks are going to say this is a sugarcoat, but when's the last time that Arizona State has finished back-to-back recruiting classes in the top 20? And how many times has it happened since the beginning of the century? How many times has it happened, before the internet era? It doesn't happen often. So I think you're seeing the progression. Some folks might call it baby steps, and they want it to happen faster. But another thing also to keep in mind is that Arizona State did not settle for those quote-unquote diamond in the roughs, the recruits that you're battling, San Jose State and UNLV for, which, let's face it, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, that was almost all the rage over here at Arizona State for the most part. And I think that if you're going to go and battle with the big boys, with the UCLAs, USCs, and Oregons, you're not going to win every battle. And that's why your class is only going to be ranked number 19. But I think if you look at the grand scheme of things, Arizona State did very well. Actually, its star average, which some people would say is really the true indicator of how good a class is actually the highest it's ever been in an era at 3.41. And the fact that Arizona State only has 22 signees right now and not 25, that also affects the ranking somewhat. So I think it was a great recruiting class last year, and I think it's probably even better star rating wise rather than overall ranking, better this year. I mean, this team is definitely going in the right direction when it comes to wins and losses and when it comes to recruiting. And I think it's going to go and show itself with 2015 and years beyond.
Well, that's a wrap for National Signing Day 2015. Now you know what Hoda thought. Let us know what you think at DevilsDigest.com. For Hoda Rubino, I'm Ina Lazarev. Thanks for watching.